We begin with breaking news coming in from the United States. An aircraft has crashed into the Potomac River near Washington, D.C., following a collision with a US military helicopter. These are live pictures from the scene. The incident happened as the passenger jet aircraft was approaching the runway at Ronald Reagan National Airport on the way from Kansas. Officials say fireboats and emergency crews are dealing with the incident. Inflatable rescue boats have also been launched. As we understand, takeoffs and landings at the airport have also been suspended. And straight to Washington, D.C., where our correspondent Stefan Simons is standing by. Stefan, hi there. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, I can tell you the president right behind me in the White House is being informed of this crash, of this tragedy, which seems to be the case here. It's by all means a tragedy. 60 passengers on the American Airlines flight 5342. 4 crew members, meaning 64 people total on this passenger aircraft jetliner. Not a huge Boeing or huge Airbus, but a city hopper. So, it came from Wichita, Kansas. And these are still jet airplanes and passenger airplanes of size, but not massively big. However, 64 people to worry about in this passenger aircraft, plus 3 soldiers on the Black Hawk. Now, as you mentioned, a massive, really massive search and rescue mission on the way right now with emergency personnel, law enforcement, EMTs, etc., all hands on deck from 2 neighboring counties and Metro DC. And as you see in the pictures, there is a sea of lights from those EMTs and other personnel trying to get a grip on what is actually happening in the water. Is that plane on the water? There are reports that the plane is at least halfway spotted in the water. And speaking of the water, the Potomac River, I drive it along almost every day. It was frozen shut the last few days. We had the first day now in a couple of days, in a few days, with 50 degrees Fahrenheit and all melted a little bit. However, this is freezing cold, and experts say under those weather conditions, hypothermia sets in within just minutes. So let's hope for the best in this rescue effort for those passengers and potentially those soldiers.
Yeah, Stefan, as you're saying, so they're searching for 64 people in total from the plane, 3 people from the helicopter, as you say, freezing conditions. And also you would have to assume that the search and rescue operations are being hampered simply by the fact that it is nighttime there, it's dark.
Right, that's why you have helicopters, plenty of helicopters crowding the airspace right now and shining big lights, their searchlights on the Potomac, on the river. But you're absolutely right. That's not. It's not a good time to search and rescue for a plane going down when it's dark and very cold. But that's what the rescuers have to deal with now. Now, however, let's talk about the airport. DCA, as we call it here, the locals call it, is in Virginia, but very close by to Washington, D.C. It was supposed to be actually closed when another airport in Virginia opened, the Dulles Airport, but that never happened because it's very popular with politicians, with senators, with representatives, House representatives, with everybody here because it's very convenient. However, it's one of the busiest airports in the entire United States. Fairly small, but still busy. Planes going off and on all the time. Now, of course not. Nobody gets in, nobody gets out. It's a complete ground hold at DCA, at the Ronald Reagan Airport at the moment.
And Stefan, as you say, it is a very busy airport, very crowded airspace. I guess one thing you would assume in any investigation that investigators will be looking at is how a passenger jet managed to come into the same airspace as a military helicopter.
Yeah, right. Or the other way around, right? But
right.
Again, Absolutely right. Why did this happen? How did this happen? This will all be investigated. That's for the National NTBS Safety Board, NTSB, and the FAA to find out. And there will be an exhaustive investigation on that. Apparently, and again, reportedly, apparently, and according to some eyewitnesses, it was the plane from Wichita coming down to land on a landing approach on DCA, and then it collided with the helicopter. Now, you may ask, well, how can they not see each other? Well, there are plenty, according to experts, blind spots when an airliner, passenger airliner, and a helicopter are that close. It's not really easy to see each other. So that's why DCA is always a flight with instruments. And then, of course, you have air traffic control, allegedly and hopefully trying to always to avoid this. But we had in the last 2 years, I would say 2-3 years, an increasing number of close calls, of almost accidents or say collisions. So that's something to worry about, and that's also something the NTSB and the FAA will look at. And this might have really big consequences for how air travel is happening in the United States, at least and foremost here, definitely in the DC area.
What could some of those potential consequences be, Stefan?
Well, more regulations regarding to military air traffic and commercial air traffic. Now, DC is a special place. Why? Because the airspace is normally closed off. There is no private plane just, casually flying over Washington, D.C. Or over the White House because it's closed airspace. For the obvious reason, the president lives in the White House. A lot of important people here in the government are in D.C. on a daily basis. So there is, of course, a lot of military traffic. Why? Because the Pentagon is just around the corner, CIA, Langley around the corner, and those people, VPs, whoever you can come up with, they travel most of the time with helicopters. These are military helicopters, not private helicopters. So there is a lot of military air traffic here. And the problem here is that commercial airlines and commercial air traffic, as well as military air traffic, they communicate on different lines, so to speak. So there is not always, let's say, a direct line of communication. So it's a lot of coordination necessary here. And maybe there was the problem. And that will have probably have to change. This will be looked at. And those will be probably the consequences.
Yeah, a lot of implications, of course, as a result of this, Stefan. Now, earlier you mentioned that the new US President Donald Trump had been informed about this. 2 questions. Can we expect a response from him, and have any other type of authorities, whether it be airport authorities or any other type of authority, have they had anything to say about this?
Yeah, the White House officially announced that the president will be kept at bay on this. He is, according to the White House, monitoring the situation. And of course, the president as well as the First Lady have, and the White House have extended their thoughts and prayers to everybody involved in this. Now, again, we do not have a confirmed casualty number here. We don't have any confirmed saying whatsoever about potential casualties or casualties. But let's see about this. However, other responses, of course, anybody here who witnessed this, and again, this was in the early evening hours of this day here in Washington, D.C. So Governor of Kansas said something. Senators are saying how shocked and sad they are, and that they hope for the best for the passengers and everybody in the crew of the passenger aircraft, as well as for the military personnel on the helicopter. So it is a rolling wave of sympathy, of thoughts, prayers sent and made public by pretty much everybody here. Pentagon, of course, saying and guaranteeing any support and help they can possibly come up with. That is actually another, let's say, not problem, but challenge. Why? Because, this is halfway now a military problem. That means military police, a military investigation will start, as well as NTSB, as well as FAA. So it's going to be a mess for a while.
Thank you very much for that, Stefan. That's our correspondent in Washington, Stefan Simons, talking about an aircraft which has crashed into the Potomac River near Washington, D.C. following a collision with a US military helicopter. Stefan Simons in Washington, thank you.